Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined by Doominal Crossing. What is going on, Doom? How are you? How was your new year?
Had an absolutely lovely new year, spending time with my friends. As for today, I've been up since 4 in the morning because I had a very early shift at work. I gotta say that we had a pretty good talk behind the scenes before we started, and I'm actually feeling pretty energetic now. So yeah,
Right.
I'm ready to do a killer podcast episode and do some SAMUS'S percentages in lieu of the insane sweeping of Switch 2 rumors that have crept upon us in the past few days.
Yes, indeed. I told you you were going to call me the Magic Man after, and I dare say that we lived up to that. But yeah, man, there's been just an absolute smorgasbord of Switch 2 rumors flying everywhere. Because, of course, we know that we are going to be getting the Switch 2 reveal in the next couple of, I guess, months, but really like weeks. Like it's going to be 12 weeks or less until that reveal comes. So, I mean, it's imminent, which is awesome, which probably means that more Metroid Prime 4 Beyond news is also imminent, which is super, super exciting if you are two hosts of a Metroid podcast. Yeah, so that's really fun. Yeah, we had a pretty quiet New Year over here, actually. We watched Blue-Eyed Samurai, which is an awesome show, kind of like John Wick, but if it was an anime set in feudal Japan. So highly recommend to anybody out there, looking for that. And, well, I played Metroid Prime, Metroid Zero Mission, Super Metroid, a couple other Metroid games, a lot of Metroid games in the last week as well. And I've been playing our latest Inspired by Metroid game. So having a Metroidvania New Year so far. So it's been nice.
Yeah, I haven't quite had time to play. I will be playing some more Metroid games very soon, hopefully. I haven't quite had the time to do it this past week. Been a little bit busy, whether it's been work or just plans that I made. I was at SAC Anime over the weekend. That was a lot of fun. Got to see a couple of my friends from Fresno that I don't get to see too often, so that was really awesome. Yeah, now we're rolling through, hoping to do some more Metroid Prime 2. I know I was streaming that in the Discord a couple weeks ago, and I would love to finish that game. With the anniversary and whatnot, I've definitely been in a huge Prime 2 mood for the past few months, and so definitely enjoy replaying that game. And I don't know, we might stream some other Metroid games too on my channel. We'll see.
We will see. And one thing that I know that is streaming right now is our latest video walkthrough, courtesy of Dominique, aka Doom GC. Somehow we have two Dooms on our Omega Metroid team.
It's getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Yeah. And you know what, though? The good thing is that both of these Dooms are great. So Dom, his name is Doom, but his real name is Dominique. He has went ahead and he has made a awesome video guide for Metroid 2, Return of Samus, the OG Metroid, which I actually haven't even looked at yet. You guys kind of took care of that. I just saw the intro of it and I was like, I love it. This looks awesome. So hey, anyone out there that wants to play some Metroid games and you're thinking about firing up the original Return of Samus, that's that's not a bad guide to be using to help you throughout your journey of SR388. That being said, we are bringing back one of the most celebrated game shows in the entire Metroid business. Something that hasn't actually come up on the podcast here for, well, actually almost the better part of 8 months. And that is Samus'S Percentages. And ironically, the last time that we did this, Doom, was before the June Nintendo Direct when Metroid Prime 4 was finally revealed. So I feel like we've got some kind of good vibes going here with our last Samus's Percentages. I don't want to take any credit, but I feel like we willed that reveal into existence with our high percentage on Samus's Percentages. So I'm looking forward to doing this.
I think we can take a little bit of credit for that, at least. I think we can take a little bit of credit.
maybe more than a little bit. The lion's share, I think, is appropriate. But yeah, so we're gonna have a fun time today. The Samus's percentage episode is going to be, appropriately enough, Switch 2 themed. And for anybody that does not know or is unaware of what the heck Samus's percentages is, here's the deal. We each will say a couple of statements, and we're going to go one statement at a time. And we are going to then give a percentage based on how likely we think that statement is to come true. 100% means that it rises like the sun and sets like the sun again at night. This will happen. 0% means that there is no possible chance that this could ever happen. We like to go somewhere in between the middle, but that's kind of the general idea. So we're going to say a statement. We'll give a percentage that's somewhere along that scale. Obviously, the higher it is, the more likely we think it is. The lower it is, the more outlandish it could be. And we'll go through and we'll have a bunch of different Switch 2 topics and maybe some Metroid topics sprinkled in here and there as well. So the way that we're going to do this is I am going to start us off here, and then we're just going to rotate back and forth. We haven't shared our Samus's percentages, so we might have some overlapping topics here, but I don't know, maybe we won't. And I'm gonna start us off, I guess, with kind of a very broad, very general question that we can really kind of dive into and fine tune later if we want. But I think at this point, we know that the Switch 2 is coming out in 2025. I think at this point, it's either a matter of does it come out during the summer or does it come out during the fall? So here's my first Samus's percentages for you, Doom Crossing. I'm going all in here, and I am saying the Switch 2 will launch after the summer season is over, sometime in the fall of 2025. What is your Samus's percentage?
Interesting, because I feel like last time we talked about this, you were thinking earlier in the summer. What made you change your mind on this?
Well, to be clear, I actually haven't changed my mind. Just for the sake of my percentage, I'm committing to it's coming out after the summer. I'll tell you what. Maybe I'll kick us off because I think it's like almost a coin flip at this point, and obviously like the sooner that we know about the Switch 2, because I think we all think that there's a big direct coming, a big reveal. The sooner that we get that, the sooner the Switch 2 can come out. So if that comes out, if that big direct comes out maybe in a week or two, I think it's pretty likely that you could get it by June, July. But if it's not, if we're not blowing the lid off the Switch 2 until March, I think you've almost assuredly then said that it's coming out in November. So I am going to go, so the question was, this comes out after the summer, sometime in the fall. I'm going to go 42% because my heart still wants to tell me that it's going to come out in the summer. It's just that every passing day makes that percentage just drop a little bit, or it makes it go up a little bit.
Man, 42 is a good one. I feel like I'm right in that same ballpark with you on that. I will say, I might go a little bit lower. Actually, I'll go a 37, just because I really don't think they're gonna show it off in March. I really don't think that they're gonna show it off in March. I feel like it's gonna be late February at the latest, but even then, I'm feeling like mid-February is the latest that we'll see the Switch 2.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. They could show it on March 31st for all I know. That is a possibility. There's a non-0% chance that happens. But my gut is telling me mid-February at the latest. And I feel like if they do show it off in February, then they will make the tail end of summer at the least. So I'm gonna go with 37%.
Okay, I like that. I just my heart tells me that they're gonna to reveal everything in January still, and we got a lot of month left. And maybe I'm only saying that because that's what we did with the Switch, but I feel like that time frame worked out well. I mean, granted, they had revealed the Switch before that, but they hadn't revealed any games or anything like that. So I don't know. I mean, it's pretty darn close to a toss up now.
And this isn't really a Samus's percentage, but I'm still not even sure how they're going to reveal the Switch 2. Because really, if you think about it, the Switch is the only console that we've had revealed in a post Nintendo Direct world. The Wii U, they were still doing
Yeah.
E3 presentations to reveal their consoles. The Switch is the only one that's broken the mold, and that was also kind of a special circumstance. I feel like the Switch 2 reveal, now that it's going to be in a more traditional sense where they're not trying to rush out and get the next one out, where Nintendo is in a very good position, I do wonder if they are going to repeat the Switch 1 reveal, or, you know, it's been almost a decade now. It's been 8 years since the Switch launched. I do wonder if that maybe it's going to be a bit different. So I don't know, just something that I've been thinking about.
Well, we won't have to wait long to find out, but I wish they would hurry up and just get it out there. Okay, what's our next SAMUS'S percentages?
All right. So that pretty much was close enough to my first percentage. So I'll just skip to number 2, and this isn't a fun topic to talk about, but you know it's something that it's inevitable. It's something we have to discuss. Switch 2 games will be $70 by default. Now, the word I'm using by default is very important. I know, not a fun topic, but it's inevitable. When I say by default, obviously the Switch 1, the default price for games is $60, but you know, we have seen examples of games that go under 60. The WarioWare games are 50. Metroid Prime Remastered is 40 for some insane reason. You know, there's plenty of examples of games that don't hit that 60, but $60 is the default price. And much like that, I don't think every single Switch 2 game is going to be $70, but I do think that default price we're looking at, I'm feeling $70, unfortunately. So much so I'm going 99% on that SAMUS'S percentage meter, actually.
Ooh. Great question. And my next one was to do with price as well. You know what? You're probably right, but I'm not gonna agree with you. There's something in my heart, there's something in my soul that tells me that one of the big reasons that Nintendo made it so far with the Nintendo Switch is because it is so much more of an affordable console for families, for consumers. I think I would preface that I bet you that like the big Nintendo games, like your next Zeldas, maybe your next 3D Mario, I could see those being $70 American. But I'm gonna go 30% on this in my SAMUS'S percentages.
Really? Okay.
I don't know. I have a hard time seeing like Advance Wars or like games of that like the next I don't know Fire Emblem costing $70.
So I could absolutely see Fire Emblem costing 70. Advance Wars, I agree with you. I feel like that would be,
I'll be honest with you. Fire Emblem wasn't what I was trying to picture. What's that game that they made that was Astral Chain? That's it. I was like, I can't see a game like Astral Chain coming out and just default costing like $70.
I think they put Astral Chain at 70. I think they do it.
And they might. Yeah, you could be right. You probably are right. I just like my heart just tells me, like, listen, when they released the 3DS, they priced it way too high, and they had to immediately like eat a bunch of crow and reduce that price. And I just wonder, Nintendo has made like a bajillion dollars on the Nintendo Switch and all the software. Do they need to do this? No. Could they do it? Yeah. Would they sell a bunch of copies? Probably no one would complain. Yeah. I don't know. I don't see it.
I mean, I hope you're right. That would be a really nice surprise, because I definitely am not expecting that right now. I guess the thing that I'm looking at right now is that $70 games are pretty normalized in the industry at this point. So even if people, like, I remember when because Sony was kind of the first one that broke the mold on that, and people were very upset about that. But it soon became normalized, and while people don't like it, they're used to it enough. And I feel like if Nintendo were to announce it, the backlash wouldn't be nearly as big, since they're not the first company, to kind of, cross that line, if you will. And especially, I feel like Tears of the Kingdom was kind of like the testing grounds of that. That game sold over 20 million by now, and so I think Nintendo is feeling pretty confident at this point Because and actually, I didn't even think about that. So in a sense, they've already crossed that line. They've already dipped their toes in the $70 water. So I feel like if anything, that $70 price point, I at least for hardcore Nintendo gamers, maybe not the more casual audience that isn't as terminally online as us, but I feel like those hardcore audiences are kind of already expecting 70 at this point. So that's kind of my thinking going into this.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think you're wrong. I just like, I don't know. I don't see it. I do remember EGA Numa saying something about the price of Tears of the Kingdom being kind of like a specialized thing. It didn't sound like it was going to be a template going forward. I don't know. I would just I would have a tough time seeing, because like clearly you're going to be measuring like success on how much money you're making and not on how many copies of the game you're selling. I don't know. I don't see it happening. But I think that's a great segue to our next Samus's percentages. And let's see how you feel about this. The Nintendo Switch 2, I'm going all in. Cost, the Nintendo Switch 2 will cost $499 at launch.
Oh.
You know what? I'm bold, baby. I'm going 95%. I feel like that is the perfect price.
And you were just telling me how like, oh, I don't know if Nintendo's gonna be too pricey. That $499, $500.
Well, how much does a PS5 cost? It's like $700, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's a PS5. That's a substantially more powerful full piece of hardware than what we imagine the Switch 2 is going to be.
That is correct. But I feel like the Switch was what when it launched? $399?
I think $299.
Sometimes I get confused because obviously it was like $500 Canadian when it launched.
Yeah.
So if it's $299, no, I think it's gonna be $499. I really do, because the hardware is gonna be upgraded to a point where you can charge a little bit more. Here's probably a better comparable. What did the PS4 launch at? That I don't know. I have no idea.
I want to say $399. I could be wrong on that. I wonder if I could look that up right now, or if I'll probably just get current PS4 prices. But like, let me see. What did the PS4
launch price is $399. Yep, you are right. Okay. It was $499 for the PS. No, $399 for PS. Okay. Maybe I'll adjust that then, because I was thinking in Canadian dollars, because that's what it's going to cost me in Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
So Switch 2 then, basically my point was that the Switch 2 is going to cost $100 more than the Switch did at launch. So let me apologize. Let me amend that. So it'll cost $399 at launch. I feel like $100 more than the Switch is affordable. I feel like it is more expensive, but you're paying for that hardware upgrade, which I think is fine. Depending on what kind of bells and features or whistles the Switch 2 has, which we'll get into in a bit, I think that you could justify that cost. I think that's a pretty good cost to launch the Switch 2 at, to set it up for success.
Now we're on the same page, because this is exactly the kind of price point I was thinking. Because right now Switch OLED both haven't gotten price drops. I do wonder if the Switch and the Switch OLED get a price drop before the Switch, because I also do think it's going to be $400. Maybe it tops at $450 at the most. I don't see $500 for that, but $400, that feels like the perfect sweet spot for that. But the OLED is only $50 less right now, and so I feel like either you have to cut the price of that or you charge more for the Switch 2. But I'm still gonna go with $400. I'm gonna go 80% on that.
Okay, that's pretty high. I mean,
you know what? Let's go 81. Make it a weird number.
All right, I love it. Yeah, I don't know, that price seems appropriate to me. So, we'll see. All right, what is next?
All right, let me go back to the list right here. Yeah, that was a perfect like 1-2 Switch segue there.
I've got another one actually that would segue nicely into that as well.
Oh man, I got a brutal one, right? You thought my $70 games one was brutal. I got a really brutal one coming up. You want to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Nintendo will allow you to upgrade Switch 1 titles * starting at $20.
I'm low on that. I'm gonna go 10%. I'm gonna go 5. I'm gonna go 5% actually. I'm gonna go 5%, and I'm tempted to go lower. And you know why? If there is an upgrade to be had, substantially over, from the Switch to the Switch 2, if there is an upgrade to be had, Nintendo is not going to just say, like, pay us 20 measly bucks to upgrade your game. They're going to be like, here's Breath of the Wild 4K for full price, baby. Pay me $70 and you can play the upgraded visual game. And I would suspect that that's going to be true for everything.
So that's why I use the word starting at $20 specifically, because I feel like I feel like a lot of people, I've seen so much people talk online like, oh my gosh, I hope Nintendo doesn't do this thing that Sony does where they make you pay $10 for the upgrade instead of just giving us free. And I'm like, bro, if they're only charging us $10, do you know how loudly I'm going to be cheering? Like, that would be insane for Nintendo to only charge $10. $20 I feel like is I'm in total agreement with you. I feel like $20 is being kind, but I feel like that's the floor right there, and there's a very high ceiling for how much they could charge for those.
Well, I guess, like, my thing is this, like, does paying a flat fee to upgrade the graphical fidelity of your game from system to system sound like something Nintendo would do? Like, at all? It doesn't to me. Like, it doesn't seem like they're, like, almost, like, capable of thinking like that, like they would just be like, oh, well, why would anybody want to do that? Like, that almost what that comes across to me as.
The consoles really haven't allowed for that so far. I mean, that idea
True.
Isn't really something that we've seen until, like, the most recent console generation. And Nintendo's most recent console, you physically could not upgrade from a Wii U. That is impossible. So,
yes.
Whereas Switch 1, Switch 2, obviously we know for a fact that's possible because, the two are backwards compatible with each other. I would imagine they're going to share very similar system architectures. And so,
yeah,
that premise doesn't seem too far-fetched. And, man, if there's anything that you can guarantee about Nintendo, they love finding ways to make you rebuy the games that you already own. And so I definitely would not put this past them.
I mean, that is true. Well, what's your SAMUS'S percentages on this?
I am going to go Nintendo 64%.
Oh, that is high. That is high. I feel like low that they'll do this at all. Like, at all, let alone the price of it.
Well, I feel like you're more in line with me, because your thing is, like, I think because you're like me, where you're like $20 is being kind. They're probably going to charge, like, at minimum $60, and I'm like, hey, I agree. I think it's going to be way more, but I just think 20 is where the floor starts.
But I'm saying, like, they're going to sell you the brand new game. Like, you're going to go to the GameStop, you're going to buy the new packaging, like, you're going to buy the new game. Like, it's not going to be something where you can just be like, I already own this software and I want to pay to upgrade it. I don't see that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know. I just
Gotcha.
I don't see
Okay.
that.
So you think that there is only going to be a Switch 2 version and a Switch 1 version?
Yes.
They're separate. You can't just own the Switch 1 version and then pay a premium, to get the upgraded features, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't see
Gotcha.
it.
Okay.
I don't see
gotcha.
It.
I think they'll do it. Maybe that's a bit of copium on my part, because I would love to see some upgraded Switch 1 games, but I don't know.
Like, the thing about Nintendo is, like, until I see them do something, like, modern like that, I gotta stick to, like, I don't see it.
That's completely fair.
Well, here, let's do another SAMUS'S percentages, because we're kind of on the same idea about upgrades here. And I think you'll find this one a spicy meatball. Maybe not. I don't know.
Ooh.
There will be a handheld only and a more powerful docked only model of the Switch 2 within the first year of the Switch 2 being released.
I'm going 4% on that.
Maybe let's do that, and let's also just say in general. So docked only and more powerful version only.
Okay.
Let's do both.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. So on even just one of those, I'm gonna say 4%. I think there's going to be one SKU at launch. Maybe there'll be different colors at launch, kind of like the Switch 1, where you had the grays and then you had the blue and red version. Mm-hmm. But I think in terms of, like,
to be clear,
I think
though,
in terms
I'm not
of
talking
features,
about launch, like the first 365 days that this is out.
Gotcha. Well, even so, the Switch, like I don't think there were any like additional SKUs besides those two during the launch year. That's a better terminology to use. I think Switch 2 is going to be similar in that regard. That like you might have different color options, but I don't think you're going to see like exclusive features or like a trimmed down version for less. I feel like that's something you're going to see after like, year 3 or 4 or something like that, where you're going to start to see those additional SKUs where they either trim down or they like, they do a little revision or so. Yeah, the only time Nintendo's really done something like that was with the Wii U, and that was universally disliked, and so I don't think they're ever going to do that again.
Yeah. I'm pretty low on it too. I'm gonna go 20% on that. The only reason I'm even going that high, I mean, it depends on what the gimmick is. Like I could see a world where a Switch 2 launches and there's a portable only Switch 2, like a Switch 2 Lite, basically, that comes out. I could see that for like day one, actually. I wouldn't put that. I wouldn't say it's likely, but I wouldn't say it's like impossible either. The more docked only version, like the powerful version of the Switch, is where it's just kind of like, I don't know about that.
I don't even think you do that during the launch year, just because I feel like at that point, the Switch 2 is backwards compatible with Switch 1. I think you just position that Switch Lite as like, hey, if you want to enter the Switch ecosystem, like here's our cheap, Switch 1 Lite. Obviously, it's not going to, look as pretty as the Switch 2. It's, the Switch 2 is going to have some new exclusive games on it, but, you still have, 8 years and counting, because this thing's still going to get support during the Switch 2's life, of software, that you can, play from day one on it at a really cheap premium. And that's assuming that it doesn't even get a price cut. If it does, you're looking at like $150 American, which, is an insane deal to get into that ecosystem. So I feel like that's kind of the avenue that they would jump in for like that year 1, year 2 kind of handheld exclusive play.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think. All right, our next SAMUS'S percentages. What's it going to be?
All right. So let's finally get off this price talk, because that's pretty much been all of my SAMUS'S percentages so far. Let's get into the namesake of this podcast. Let's talk about some Metroid Prime 4.
I'm ready.
Now, we've already, we talked about this on the last podcast actually. We both think that Prime 4 is going to be a cross-gen title at this point, despite what a few people in our Discord think. I am dead set on that still. And so I think just doing a SAMUS'S percentage on that would be pretty boring, since I know you and I are already pretty aligned on that. We've already talked about why we're aligned on that. So let's make this a little bit spicier.
I'm ready.
Metroid Prime 4 will launch day 1 on Nintendo Switch 2. 80%.
I think I'm pretty close to that. I think I'm gonna go.
Are you feeling it?
I'm gonna go 75%. Yeah.
Let's go, dude. I love it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. And you know what? Let's just throw a bonus one in there too. Let's just do it. Is Metroid Prime 4 gonna be cross-gen? I'm gonna go 99%. 90.
Oh yeah.
9. That's the highest I've ever percented anything.
I'll join you on the road to Valhalla. Let's go 99.
Yeah. I think it's going to do it. I think it's going to launch on the Switch 2. And I think it should launch. And I think you're going to set it up for real big success if it launches on the Switch 2.
Yeah, and I totally understand why, the thought of, Metroid launching on a new console is scary for a lot of Metroid fans. Totally understand that. And I think that, that's a totally valid feeling to have. But, and I've said this on the podcast before, there's something different about Metroid Prime 4. The way that Nintendo is treating this game, the fact we're even getting this freaking game at all, it doesn't make sense, if you ask me. It doesn't. The way they're acting about Nintendo has never exuded this much confidence about a Metroid game, and I said this in the last podcast.
Yeah.
Since Other M, which again, and I'm basically just repeating what I said before. I understand Other M was a failure, but Nintendo was confident, and I would rather them be confident about a Metroid game than not be confident. And they are exuding an absurd amount of confidence in a Metroid game that doesn't match the historical sales of this game.
Yeah.
It is clear to me that they see something else in this game that they haven't seen in other entries. They see an investment opportunity here. And I feel like if they really believe in this game, they're going to capitalize that and say, like, no, this is, if not the game, this is one of the games you are going to buy when you buy the Switch 2.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling, and you know what? I'm feeling the confidence that they're outpouring to me, and that's why I'm saying 80%.
I feel pretty good about it, to be honest. And I have heard every single argument from every, like, just funless, soulless Metroid fan out there. I'm sorry, but, like, why this shouldn't happen, why it couldn't happen.
I love you, Joey.
Yeah, what can I say? Metroid's not a big enough series to launch. You know, great. Like, there are counter answers to everything. I don't think Metroid Prime 4 has to be the only game that launches with Nintendo Switch 2. I think, actually, one of my SAMUS'S percentages was like, hey, do you think Metroid Prime 2 and, like, a Mario Kart are going to launch with the Switch 2? I could see Mario Kart launching day one alongside Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
Why not, right? Like, and I don't think that one cannibalizes the other either. Like, I think it's a good decision to do. I think it's a good position to put Metroid Prime 4 in. Typically we've seen, like, launch games, like, really do well for Nintendo over the course of all their consoles. So, and this game in particular, like, I think you want it to do well, because it's not probably as important of a title as Breath of the Wild was, but it's certainly the most important title that will ever be released for the Metroid series, considering everything that happened with Metroid Prime 4. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good chance of happening. And I think it should happen. And I think it'd be cool if it did, because we've never had it before. And, like, you don't know until you do. So maybe it fails and maybe everyone was right, but it's like, well, at least we did it, you know? And even if it does happen, then, like, whatever. Wait 30 days and 3D Mario is going to be releasing next to it, you know? Everything will be fine. So yeah.
So actually, I want to go over a sales figure right now. So one of the launch titles, so obviously the big launch title for the Switch was Breath of the Wild. That was the big game. Still to this day, like, I think in the top 5 best-selling Switch games list right now. Easily the best-selling Zelda title of all time. Outsold Super Mario Odyssey, which is a sentence that I never thought I'd be saying. Absolutely wild. But that wasn't the only launch title on the Switch. There was also a game called 1-2 Switch. Obviously, nowhere near the amount of sales that Breath of the Wild did. But, you know, 1-2 Switch, you know, it's your kind of whatever tech demo game. Like, who cares? Nobody bought it. Andy, how many copies do you think that game sold?
4 million.
Almost 3.74 million as of
Dang.
December 2022.
Dang.
And that launched day one. Yeah, the 1-2 Switch, the Who Cares game. That game sold better than Metroid Dread on launching on the Switch. I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be just fine launching on the Switch, because one other thing that people have to remember is that launch, there's going to be a more limited selection of games. And so, yeah, you might have that killer app that still draws in the Switch too, whether it's your Mario Kart, your Pokemon ZA, that's another one that people are talking about, your 3D Mario. You'll have your game that draws people in, but because the launch lineup is so limited, people are going to still want to buy more software, and they're only going to have so much to choose from. That's a perfect opportunity to drop into some Metroid, especially if Nintendo is just hammering that down. And if a game like 1-2 Switch can sell almost 4 million, I think we can get a Metroid Prime 4 million. I don't know. What do you say?
This is going to blow your mind. I think I've told you that story about when I went to go buy my Switch on day one. It was like 7 a.m. I was waiting with like 200 other people. Everyone was there for Zelda. I was there for Zelda and the Switch. And I was talking to the guy in front of me, and he's like, man, I can't wait to play Bomberman. I was like, okay. That game, Bomberman R, like just a throwaway Bomberman game, the last sale price, which is from 4 years ago, by the way, in 2021, sold over 2 million copies. So yeah, I think Metroid Prime 4 would do just fine. Okay, well, let's keep it on the same train here. Let's talk about some games that could be coming here. I think that this is a pretty darn close to certain Samus's percentage, but I wanted to throw it out there anyways, just because it's fun to talk about. The next 3D Mario game is a year one Switch 2 release. I'm going high. I'm going 95%. I could see maybe I've kind of had this thing where I've thought Mario Kart is going to be launching for Switch 2. I could actually maybe see Metroid and Mario, like the next 3D Mario game, launching on Switch 2.
A variation of this that's a bit spicier. If you want me to add, to the pot.
Yeah,
going.
let's just do it right now.
All right. So this year, 2025 is the 40th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers. I know, crazy. So, how about this? The next 3D Mario game and Mario Kart 9 will launch within the Switch 2's first year. I'm going to go 41 on that. I actually don't think that's going to happen, but I think that would be a really cool way to celebrate the 40th anniversary.
You know what? I'm going to go 70%.
70%?
I'm going to go 70%.
I don't agree, but I love it.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing. Let's just say for simplicity's sake, the Switch 2 comes out in November, and you have Metroid Prime 4 and let's just say Mario Kart launches in November. What's coming out the rest of the year? Like, you know, I remember the Switch 1, like that first year, that lineup was stacked. It was stacked. And you did have Mario Kart and Mario. I mean, granted, not a new Mario Kart, but I mean, it might as well have been for most people. Even if you launch in November and the year, like the 1 year anniversary is November of 2026, you probably need a big game for November 2026, Super Mario Brothers or Mario Kart. Like, hello, I actually talked myself up. I'm gonna go 80% on that. I'm liking it. I'm gonna do it.
I think you're talking me into it too.
I don't think it's
I
as
love this
outrageous
energy,
as you
man.
think.
I think that's a pretty convincing argument, actually.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like, I could see that. I'll be honest. Like, I'm expecting the year one lineup of the Switch 2 to be nuts. And I think it's right to expect that. I'll tell you what. Let's keep this train going here. The speculation.
I'll upgrade mine to 72%. Just after that argument.
Yeah. All right. Okay. You know I couldn't do this without slipping a Legend of Zelda question here. It's in my nature. I think in the year of 2025, we see the teaser trailer for the next 3D open world Zelda game. It doesn't release in 2025, okay? But I think we see it. And I think we see it soon. Like in the next 6 months.
I'm going to be nice and say 19%, but I think if I was being realistic, I think it's even lower than that, but I'm going to be nice and give you a 19% on that.
I don't think
we're seeing it this year.
I'm going to go. How bold do I want to be? The hell with it. I'm going to go 58%. I think at some point in the year 2025, because like again, like you know that you're gonna, like, you know, the next 3D Zelda game is coming. You know, like, is it coming out in if it's coming out in 2026, you're for sure seeing it in 2025. If it's coming out in 2027, you're probably seeing it in 2025. If it's coming out in 2028, I don't know what's going on with Nintendo. That's just outrageous. But you probably won't see it in 2025. But I have faith that it's going to come out in before 2028. I think we see it. Not like a big trailer, but like, you know, just the Tears of the Kingdom, like the sequel to Tears of the Kingdom is in development. That's what I think we see.
I think there's a better chance that we get news of Tom Holland being cast as Link in the movie than us getting a 3D Zelda trailer.
How could you say that? How could you go there? Oh God. Well, let's pray to whatever God we have that does not happen. All right, you are up. What's next on your SAMUS'S percentages?
All right, so I got a couple more of these. And you know what? Actually, since we just did a little Nintendo movie reference, I'll actually go to my I'll jump to the one I have at the very bottom here. So this is actually something I actually just thought of before we got on stream, and it got to me because, you know, the Mario movie was a huge success. I mean, you know, got over $1 billion, like massively outperformed Nintendo's expectations. There was a correlative spike in Mario game sales, you know, in the months after the movie. Nintendo is very happy with this, and the sequel is actually coming out next year, in April of 2026. I can't remember the exact day, but that day is approaching rapidly fast to the point that we're probably going to get our first trailer for that movie sometime later this year. But that
Yeah.
isn't exactly what my Samus's percentage is. One thing we didn't really see with the Mario movie is in-game promotional stuff. We didn't really, the games in the movie kind of felt like their own separate things, even though they had like a financial impact that kind of like resonated with each other. We didn't really see like, the games like, referencing or promoting the movie, in a literal sense, you know what I mean? And I do find that interesting because, especially with the release of Sonic and Shadow Generations, where one of the promotional DLCs they did for that game was a Shadow the Hedgehog level from the movie, where they actually brought in Keanu Reeves to voice Shadow, which is so cool. And so I was wondering, like, I wonder, now that Nintendo has gone through one of these Mario movies, they know how successful these things can be, and how much of a positive impact they can have on the games. I wonder now that, we're seeing Mario games developed in a post Mario movie world, if we will see some sort of promotional aspect of, the sequel in some sort of future Mario title on the Switch too. And so that's kind of what my Samus's percentage is, that Nintendo will have some sort of promo for the second Mario movie in an upcoming Switch 2 Mario title. I'm going to go 30% on this, but I don't know. I find the possibility of that interesting. I don't know if that's just a me thing. What do you even think before you even give your percentage? What do you think? Would that be like a really cool premise, or am I just kind of in my own bubble?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you consider promotion. I could see, so let's say hypothetically Super Mario Odyssey 2 comes out and you can switch costumes in that game. Or let's just say hypothetically that there is the next Smash Bros that comes out. I could see like a sticker or an outfit that's like Mario from the movie or Yoshi from the movie or something like that. I don't see like a trailer being included in any games, although I wouldn't say it's impossible. Games specifically, I think you'd see a trailer like on the Switch too, like in the news section or whatever, like on your Switch little dashboard there. I could see promotion there like heavily, and they probably should promote there. I don't know if I would like imagine that in like a Mario game. I mean, I don't know. I guess now that I'm saying it, like I wouldn't think it's impossible to get like a DLC character from Mario Kart that's like movie Mario or something. But I don't know how you classify that. And like the skin isn't so different from regular Mario that there's a lot of value there either, I don't think, if you don't have like Chris Pratt or, all the guys voicing all the characters. So like I could see it, but I don't know exactly how they do it. It depends on what game they did it. It depends on it would depend on a few different things. But I think primarily like what game and the manner that they were promoting this. Because we don't have detail there, I'd say maybe I'd stick at 20% on that, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. Like I think that, because like what we did see after the Mario movie came out is like there was a million Mario games that were released and the people were buying tons and tons of Mario games. So I mean, it seems like a good idea on paper to have this kind of cross synergy. I mean, to be honest, actually, I would have even found a way to like try and incorporate marketing the Switch games into the movie as well. And I don't know how you do that, but maybe they're watching maybe Mario's watching a commercial for the new Switch game or something like that, and all of a sudden, whatever, something happens. But
yeah, I only see like Maria Menounos like advertising some Switch games before the movie starts. Like I see that.
I don't know, like something like that, or product placement, but place your own products. Like yeah. So
I think I'm in agreement with
20%.
that. I think I'm in agreement with that. I went 30% on mine, but I think I'm in agreement where it's like I think the chances are up, but I don't think they're quite super high yet, other than maybe like like a very minor thing in most. But even then, I'm not entirely sure, because I feel like that's really uncharted territory for Nintendo at this point.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But I mean, it makes sense, so like I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's impossible. Let's go back to speculating about the Switch 2 here. I've got another Samus percentages here. There's no time frame attached to this, but I guess, I don't know, let's say the first couple years for the time frame here. The Switch 2 has actual apps like Netflix, Prime, Nintendo Music, included for download that you can just use. YouTube, Twitch, all that kind of stuff. It's much like the Wii U was, where you can stream and whatever on your Nintendo Switch 2.
So, is there like specific apps that it needs to have? Because obviously the Switch One doesn't have
need
many.
To have it.
Okay, because I was just thinking like the Switch One doesn't have a lot of apps, but I believe it has YouTube, Twitch, and Crunchyroll. I could be mistaken.
Right. It definitely has YouTube, and it definitely has Twitch.
Yeah, and
it definitely has YouTube. Actually, I'd take that back about Twitch. I'm pretty sure it does, but I couldn't say 100% for sure. But I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't remember off the top of my head, but like I know the Switch One has some apps. It's just missing a ton, and so that I guess that's why I was asking, whether or not there's going to be new, because I would imagine YouTube, Twitch, and Crunchyroll, like assuming that I am right on those, I assume those are just going to carry over to Switch 2, and those will work right out of the box.
Yeah,
so
no,
I guess what
I'm talking
asking,
like you can go to the App Store and you can search for like the Sportsnet app, or you could search for Netflix, or you can search for I don't know, whatever, Disney Plus.
New apps that we don't already have on the Switch One.
Right.
You think there's going to be new apps coming within the next 2 years?
A couple years. Yeah, sure. Let's go 2 years. 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
2 or 3 years.
I mean, I don't know. On one hand, it feels like it hasn't happened now. Why is it going to happen in 2 years? On the other hand, it feels bizarre that we haven't already got those. These feel like such no-brainers on the Switch.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you'd want like I feel like you like Netflix is like why do you not have that on Switch? Like so many Switch owners would love to have that and as Nintendo, you want people to be glued to their Switch as much as possible, and having those streaming apps would be like a perfect way to do that. And so I don't know why they haven't done it. It feels weird, especially when they have
because the Wii U had it.
Yeah, and again, you already have stuff like YouTube, Twitch, and so it's not like they're opposed to having those types of apps on the console. It's definitely not just a games only console. But yeah, it's just it is a certified Nintendo move. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like on one hand, you're right. Like it feels like this should just be a slam dunk thing, and it kind of feels to me like you do want to promote the Switch 2. Because I don't think that the gimmick is going to be like worlds different than what the Switch is right now. So I feel like you do want to have some like differences between the two. So I'm inclined to go high, but it is weird that they just like abandoned that. I don't know. I'm gonna go 62%.
I'll probably do the other end. I'll go like 38%. I think.
Okay, I think both of those are like very possible. Okay,
it's a bizarre situation. I don't care that much, again, just because I don't really use my Switch portably, but it just feels like such a bafflingly obvious missing feature.
And I'm the opposite. I use my Switch almost exclusively portably, but I probably wouldn't use them either. But it's nice to have if you need it.
Yeah.
I had a friend actually whose Wii U was her like streaming machine. Like I use my PlayStation to stream Netflix and whatever. Like I primarily use it to watch TV versus play games. And she was the only person I've ever known that's had the Wii U for that. So maybe I don't know.
Hey, more power to the Wii U owners out there. Man, I cannot speak right now. I will say, as much as I rarely ever use the Wii U for stuff like that, the YouTube app on that was actually pretty cool, because one of the things you could do is you could preload a video on the gamepad, but you could have like a digital curtain up on the TV screen so that it wouldn't like spoil the thumbnail or the title for everyone. Mm-hmm. And then you could play the video and it would reveal the curtain of the video like right as it's playing. I always thought that feature was really cool. So I don't know. I would hope that they find a way to incorporate that in the Switch too. They probably won't though. It'll probably be the exact same YouTube app we have on the Switch, which is fine.
We'll see. You know what? I've got a perfect segue, Samus's percentages here that deals with the Wii U. Can I take two?
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it. Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go. The
I'm loving
eShop,
this energy.
the Nintendo eShop is completely overhauled to be similar to the Wii U's, which was a great eShop, which broke down by genre, by game series, there was like a lot. It was really easy to navigate rather than the complete catastrophe, which is Nintendo Switch's eShop, which is just like the Wild West of, a gajillion shovelware games and the odd diamond in the rough. My heart tells me they need to do this, especially with like all of this like AI game schlop that is being generated. My bodice tells me I don't know if they're going to do this. My head tells me that, like, I don't know, man. I feel like they should. I feel like it would be something that again sets the Switch 2 apart from the from the Switch. I don't know. What do you think?
Man, that's tough. The Switch eShop is absolutely atrocious. Like, it is absolutely like it is like
it's an
some
embarrassment.
of the
Like
it really is. Like, I remember back when like the Steam store was just filled with slop, and like to an extent it still kind of is, but like nowadays, like, Valve has like done a much better job curating, the Steam store and like a lot of the asset flip games, and now a lot of like the recent, AI garbage that has been, infiltrating games recently.
Yeah.
Like, it still seeps its way through the crack, but my God, it's not like the open sewage that is the current Switch eShop.
It's just like, if you want to go, like, the eShop would be fine if there was only like a dozen games releasing every month, but there are multiple dozens of games releasing every day, and it's like finding it. Like, if you just want to, even if you take out all the schlop, like the AI stuff, like the cheap, like the hentai games that you see on there all the time, like there's still like 1,000 games that's on there, and like if you want to go and try and find something on sale, like, good luck, like, unless you know exactly what you're looking for.
And on top of that, it's slow as heck, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
It's brutal.
Awful. Not only
you gotta load up every 6 games. It is astonishing how poor that eShop is, and like it's extra astonishing because the Wii U's eShop was great, the 3DS's eShop was great, like the Wii's eShop was great. I don't know. What's your SAMUS'S percentages here? Because I don't know where to go here.
I want to say that the shop is at least going to be faster on the Switch 2. I mean, it sounds like, granted, we won't know until we actually have the console and we have it, but it seems from the leak specs that we have that it's going to have a faster storage solution, UFS storage. And I would imagine so if it's going to be a more powerful console. If you want to run some of those more modern games, you're going to need a faster storage solution to stream assets faster. So that just kind of makes sense. Even if there were no like theoretical leak speaks, that just makes sense, on a practicality standpoint, if you want more third-party support.
Yeah.
And so on that merit alone, I would imagine the shop is technically going to be better in the sense that it would be faster.
I'm more so talking like a design overhaul to make like finding games like itself actually easier. I'm gonna
be optimistic, maybe naively so, and say 52%. Just barely. Because like they gotta do something about that. Like, do they probably have to? Will the Switch 2 probably sell regardless? Probably. It's probably not going to make that much of a difference. That's the one thing that's holding me back. But man, I think aside from Joy-Con drift, this is like the easy number 2 thing that they absolutely need to address on the Switch, because that shop is just unacceptable.
I think I'm with you. I just think that there's no way that you can have like the identical I mean, you could, obviously you could, because they've gotten away with it for 8 years, but like it's just, they gotta upgrade that. And I'm gonna listen to my heart and not my bodice. I'm gonna go I don't know, I'm gonna go 60%, because I'm not like entirely confident in that, but like, how can you leave it as is? Because that is just like, I mean, that is tough. That is a tough look for Nintendo, for the eShop, for game developers. I mean, if you want to find a game, like, I think they have to do something with it. So, I mean, even promoting their own games, like Nintendo games, like, like, again, the day that, I don't know, Paper Mario comes out, there's like 16 other AI games that come out too. So it's like you can't even find that in recent releases until you scroll down, which probably takes you like 5 minutes while it loads. So yeah, not a good look. I'm going 60%, but who the hell knows? Okay.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
All right. So I got one more here.
All right.
And this is kind of, I feel like this is the most out of left field prediction. And this is the one I was alluding to earlier, where it's my sole, I think X game is going to launch on Switch 2. But I feel like the game itself is so out of left field that it kind of makes up for that.
Okay.
And so, but before I go into it, I kind of want to go into my thinking of this. You and I are in agreement where I think and I don't think it's just us. I think most people agree that the Switch 2 is probably going to be, at its core, a more powerful Switch with some minor quality of life updates and maybe like a minor gimmick or so. I know there was a lot of people are talking about that potential optical sensor that was in that alleged Joy-Con leak. Maybe that could be like one of those minor things. Who knows whether that's real or not.
3DS to DS, I think.
Exactly. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about is how do you market, something like that to a more casual audience? Because that casual audience is going to be very important for, for the Switch 2, just as much as, if not more so, than the hardcore audience. And I was thinking because, if the Switch 2 is just, a more powerful Switch, I don't know how much of a successful pitch that's going to be to a more casual audience, because most people we look at, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and it's like, oh, this game looks disgusting. It looks like a PowerPoint presentation. Who would play this? Well, about 25 million would play this, actually. That's your answer. So most people actually don't really care about that kind of stuff. And so I feel like if that's all the Switch 2 has to offer is more power, I don't know how much of a successful pitch that is. So what kind of a game could you use to bridge that casual audience and sell that more powerful upgrade to them? And this is where my Samus's percentage comes in handy.
If you say Metroid
Marking
Prime
its
pinball, I'm gonna scream.
No, I mean, it should be. All 8 billion people on this planet should play this, but no, that is not my prediction.
I'm ready.
Marking its return for the first time in 14 years, Nintendogs will launch on Switch 2 to demonstrate the console graphical capabilities and unique features with the cutest doggos you've ever seen, with an unprecedented level of interactivity using whatever new gimmick the Switch 2 has. I feel like this would be a perfect kind of game to sell to people who otherwise don't really care about, those graphical capabilities, or who might not be sold on like those minor, input features and stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't know how likely this is going to be. No one has I haven't seen a single rumor bring up Nintendogs. It's probably not going to happen, but I don't know. There's something in my soul that's really feeling the Nintendogs right now. I'm going 56% on this.
Okay, define launch for me. Like, what is that? Like
I'm saying day one Nintendo. I'm saying
day
Nintendogs.
One? Okay.
I'm saying like Nintendogs is going to be like that 1-2 Switch kind of tech demo-y title that's going to launch with the platform. Again,
I'm gonna go.
If I'm being realistic, it probably shouldn't be 56, but like, I don't know. It's in my soul, man. It's in my soul. I'm probably wrong, but I'm feeling it.
Two answers.
Okay.
3% that it launches day one on Nintendo's Switch 2.
Very fair.
I don't know if that's the game. I think there's just gonna be like a 1-2 Switch or a Nintendo Land or Wii Sports or whatever, right? Like I think there's gonna be the Switch 2 version of that launches with it, and I don't think it's Nintendogs. If you would have asked me if there was gonna be a Nintendogs game in the first year or two on Nintendo Switch 2, yeah, I could see that. Like I pretty much could see like a lot of the big Nintendo franchises coming back, and it's been a minute since we've had Nintendogs. I feel like that game had its audience. Like, why not? So
it was massive on the DS. It wasn't quite as big on the 3DS, but I feel like the Switch. I don't know. It feels like the time to bring back Nintendogs. It's probably just me. My soul's probably being deceptive right now, but I don't know. I'm feeling it.
I would have said 40% for Nintendogs coming back as like a Switch 2 game in general at some point. As a Switch title, like a launch title though, I don't know if I see that one.
Yeah, and you're probably right. You're probably right.
That wouldn't be the worst launch title though. I mean, if we're being honest, like there's.
Dude, I love Nintendogs. I'd be hyped. Well, maybe not hyped, but like I'd be like, heck yeah, like I'd totally buy that at launch.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I never got Nintendogs, but I thought that it was a cool, like charming concept for the people that liked it, right? I think that you could launch that like with Metroid Prime, with Super Mario or Mario Kart or whatever it's going to be, and I don't think that really takes like any. Like I think that's a different audience. So like.
Yeah, it's a very diverse lineup, I think.
Yeah. I don't see it happening, but I wouldn't dump all over it either. Like, I'm low, but if they did announce that, I would be like, okay, I could see the merit behind doing that. I don't know. Not the worst thing I've ever heard on this podcast, that's for sure. All right, well, I've got a few more here, and I'll cherry pick some of them here. Some of the more interesting ones here. I want to start off with a couple sales figures. SAMUS'S percentages.
Okay.
And let's get ambitious here. And I'll kick it off with this one. The Switch 2 sells more than 13.5 million units in its first year. 13.5 million units. Do we know why that number is important? Because that's what the Switch sold in its first year, just under.
Oh, I'm gonna answer a question that's not in the SAMUS'S percentage while also answering this.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 65%. I think in the first year it will outsell the Switch 1. I don't think the total sales are even going to come close to the Switch 1 though. I think there's going to be a massive gap once the Switch 2 has finished its life cycle. There's going to be a massive gap between the 152 and counting that the Switch 1 has right now versus what the Switch 2 is going to have.
Yeah.
I think it's going to break 100. I think it's going to break 100 million. I'm expecting it's too early to tell right now, but I'm expecting probably 100 to 120. That's kind of the ballpark that I'm looking at right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be wrong because again, it's we haven't even seen what the damn thing looks like yet. So who knows? Who knows how that thing's going to perform? But that's kind of, with the little info we have right now, that's just kind of what I'm expecting for what we assume is going to be a very iterative console. That being said, I do think that first year is going to be massive.
I mean, I think I'm with you. Like, I just feel like Switch is lightning in a bottle. You can't replicate that overall success. And I think I feel that way about the first year too, actually. I think I feel like the Switch 2 will do incredibly well. I would definitely say it'll be 10 million units over. And this is also assuming that Nintendo can, meet demand, which I think it will. I think they will because, for things that ultimately don't matter, like Amiibo or the minis, like the NES minis, I think they're fine letting that be kind of like a scarcity item. I don't think that they would do that for the Switch too.
They also have publicly talked about how, with the Switch successor, like at least with their shareholders, that they are taking stock allocation very seriously this time, which granted, actions speak louder than words, but I do think they realize that they need to be on top of this.
I mean, I seem to remember too, like, I don't know that anybody had a real tough time finding a Switch when it came out. I mean, granted, of course, that's a long time ago. And I think there was a little bit of a demand, but like not like a ton. Like it wasn't outrageous like the PS5 or I don't know, some other systems were.
I still don't know how I managed to get a Series X when I did. Like that thing was a nightmare to get during that pre-order period. The Switch. So the thing with me is I managed to get like one of those crappy GameStop bundles where they like, they put all the other crap in there to like, up the price and whatnot. And I was a sucker that bought into that because I was just like, man, I really want this thing right now. So I don't know. I think at the very least there'll probably be like some of that going on. I do hope that there will be more singular consoles available so that we don't have to like have the inflated prices, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I think Nintendo's going to pull through in terms of that. And I think that I'm lower than you are on if it will sell more than 13.5 million units. I think I'm gonna go 40. I'm gonna go 40%. And like 10 million units in the first year is a great number, and 100 million units is a fantastic number for a console overall. Like, let's not kid ourselves.
I will say one thing that the Switch One does have an advantage in that regard is it had Breath of the Wild day one, and that was like an immediate. Not just a killer app, but like to this day, Breath of the Wild is like not even a game of the but like by a lot of people considered one of the best games ever made.
Yeah,
and it basically got there overnight, and that was a huge part in the Switch's first year of success. I don't know if the Switch 2 is going
to Breath of the Wild. That you cannot capture again. And we saw that. You can't capture that again with Tears of the Kingdom. And again, not that Tears of the Kingdom did badly. I would expect like the Switch 2 to basically do what Tears of the Kingdom did. That's actually probably a pretty good comparison between the two.
Yeah. And much like how I think the Switch 2 is going to perform, Tears of the Kingdom, right off the boat, massive sales out of the boat. I think it was like 2 weeks and it was already at like 9-10 million. But then right when it hit 19 mil, it kind of nosedived, and it didn't really have the legs that Breath of the Wild did. And so that's kind of what I'm kind of seeing something similar with the Switch 2, where I think right out of the gate we're going to see massive sales, and it's going to be so rapid that it's going to be enough to push it. But I think that it's not going to have the same legs that the Switch 1 does, and it's going to drop off a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also kind of what we're seeing with the PS5 versus the PS4, where PS5 at the start was outpacing the PS4, but because frankly this generation just hasn't been as exciting as the last one was, if I'm being frank in that regard. I think a lot of people just weren't ready to invest.
Well, a lot of people just bought PS4 Pros and Xbox Scorpios or whatever the hell it was. So like they blurred the line to their own detriment, I think. But that's another conversation. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, you're right. I don't think anything is gonna, like, Breath of the Wild's legs are made of titanium. Like that game is doing unfathomable things. Like to this day, unfathomable things. And frankly, so is the Switch. So I would expect that the Switch 2 doesn't meet that, but that's okay. Let's go over to another sales figure one. This one might be a little bit easier. I don't know. Metroid Prime 4 becomes the highest selling entry in the entirety of the Metroid series within. I'm going to go spicier. Within 3 months. I originally wrote 6. I'm going to go within 3.
Oh.
You can answer both if you want. I pick whatever one you'd want, but I figured I'd up the ante a little bit.
I mean, either way, that's pretty spicy. That's pretty spicy regardless.
I don't think so. Like, Metroid Dread sold 3 million copies almost right away, didn't it? And it basically, like, plateaued right there afterwards. Like, it's pretty much still at 3 million copies. I think the Metroid Prime 4. I'm gonna go high on this. I'm gonna double down, and I'm gonna go high on 3 months. I'm gonna go 79%.
I'm gonna go low just because I want to temper my expectations here. We've barely seen. Obviously, we've seen a hell of a lot more of this game than we did a year ago. But even so, we've seen like a tiny grain of sand of what this game is setting out to do.
Yeah,
I personally do have a lot of faith in it. I think it's obvious that Nintendo has a lot of faith in it, but I don't know. I'm gonna go. Screw it. Let's go 51%.
50. All right, baby. Let's do it. Okay,
let's go 51.
I've got 2 more left here. We'll make it just 2 kind of snappy ones here, and then we'll jam on out of here. And these are both about Metroid, so let's end off on that.
All right.
SAMUS'S percentages. Question number 1. Final question. Mercury Steam's first game released on the Switch 2 is not a Metroid title.
1%.
Damn,
1%. They are 1000% working on Metroid 6 as we speak. There is no way that you make the best-selling Metroid title of all time and the most successful Mercury Steam title of all time and not do a sequel to that.
I'm low, but I'm not that low. And the only reason
Granted, Next Level Games, in fact, did do that after Luigi's Mansion 3. That was the best-selling Luigi's Mansion title, the most successful Next Level Games of all time, and they did another Mario Strikers game after that. I imagine as we speak, they're probably working on Luigi's Mansion 4, but
Yeah,
that they did technically. I think the difference with Mercury Steam, though, is that Next Level Games already had a history
I think
with the
you're
Mario
right.
Strikers
Yeah.
games, whereas Mercury Steam, like, when it comes to Nintendo, at least, they only have a history with Metroid.
I think you're right. And my thought process behind there, and you might have to help me out because I do know, like I know that Mercury Steam is working on an unannounced game, and it's called Project Iron, and it says it's from Windows and unannounced console. So I mean, I don't know what that means, but they're definitely working on it right now. But I'm low too. I think I'm gonna go 10%, and I think they're working on Metroid 6 as we speak. I think they're probably working on a Metroid Fusion remake as we speak. I think they're probably doing both.
Both. I
I
don't know
so.
about that. I think it's one or the other. I think it's one or the other.
I don't think well, I mean, maybe I'm just being optimistic, but I think you're gonna get a Fusion remake at some point, and I mean, obviously you're gonna get Metroid 6 at some point.
I think there's a better chance that they would be working on a Samus Returns port simultaneously because that would take a lot less resources than a full-blown Fusion remake. And even then, I think that's well,
You know what? I see that and I raise you though. Like Nintendo could just outsource anybody to do that. I make it sound like it's so easy, but like you know what I mean? I think that they could get someone.
Yeah. I'm just saying, of those scenarios, I think that's more likely than them working on a brand new Metroid game and a full-blown Fusion remake.
When I say working too, by the way, I'm not talking like they're actively developing both. I'm talking maybe they're like actively developing Metroid 6, storyboarding Metroid. I don't know, whatever. But I'm low too. I think that clearly the next game that they release should be a Metroid title. Which actually leads. Yes.
Well, I was also just gonna say, another thing is, Yoshio Sakamoto, has been, the co-creator of Metroid. He's produced pretty much all the mainline games, or at the very least had an oversight position on a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, he I don't know how often you watch the Kit and Krista podcast. I absolutely love them. And they were talking on one of their recent episodes about retirements that are probably going to be happening during the Switch 2. And Sakamoto is actually one of the oldest working devs in Nintendo. He's in his mid 60s right now.
Dang.
And there's and hey, man, if there's anyone who's earned a retirement, man, other M aside, Sakamoto, you freaking earned a retirement. And I have to imagine that they would want to get Metroid 6 out sooner than later if he does plan on retiring soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I don't know. Well, we'll see. I do think Metroid 6 is coming out sooner than maybe we all think based on the success of Dread. It would be interesting though to see if Sakamoto, rides off into the sunset. It seems like everyone else at Nintendo, it just doesn't really do that. And I guess to be fair, I'm really only thinking of the big names like Miyamoto or Aonuma, stuff like that. They seem to stick around for forever.
I feel like some of those top tier higher ups are very Miyamoto is a very special individual in Nintendo's history. He kind of has special privilege. He can do whatever he wants. If he wants to work till he's 99, Nintendo's hey,
I think he will too.
Out.
I think he's gonna do it.
oh, he would. He would.
Okay,
100%.
Well, this segues directly into my last Samus's percentages here, which and now this is assuming, I have to preface this, assuming everything is on track and Metroid Prime 4 releases in 2025, okay? But Samus's percentages, there is a new Metroid game released in 2026. And let me clarify my definition here. A new game as in a new game that you can buy in stores. So that could be a port of a combined port of Metroid Prime 2 and 3. That could be a remake of Metroid Fusion. But something that you can go to Walmart, you pick it up, you buy it, and say, I'd like to buy this Metroid game, please. That is what I'm talking about. A new Metroid game released in 2026. I am so everything depends here, because like when the Switch 2 launches. If the Switch 2 launches in summer and Metroid Prime 4 comes out in June, let's just say, and we get to November of 2026, I could see that. Like I could see October of 2026. I could see that too. A new 2D Metroid. And I think it would be a 2D Metroid. Or maybe the Primes. I think I'm actually pretty high on this, actually. I'm gonna go 55%.
73%.
Yes!
I actually don't think this is implausible at all. You know, Metroid Dread had a development time of 4 years. You know, you had 2017 to 2021. 5 years, I feel like, granted, it's more powerful hardware, so who knows how long that's going to take. I feel like a 5-year development time for a 2D game that's not being developed by Team Cherry is a pretty good time there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, there's also the possibility that Prime 2, 3 does that. Personally, I think that's going to release, you know, about a month before Prime 4. You also have the option of Samus Returns HD.
Yeah, you got that too.
I still think of those options, Metroid 6 is the more likely option, but again, I think 2026, that kind of feels right, actually, for Metroid 2026. I love it.
There you go. Yeah, I think Metroid 6 is coming sooner than we may think. So maybe I should go higher. Maybe I should put my money where my mouth is and go, I don't know, Nintendo 64 percentage. I think I'm okay with that.
I like it.
All right, well, there it is. Everybody's favorite game show in the Metroid community, SAMUS'S Percentages. Another fine episode of our predictions. We can review this in 6 months and see how horrifically wrong we were about everything. And that's probably the best part of some of these episodes, is to look back and see, well, what exactly actually transpired. And the good thing about this particular episode is that we'll know a lot of these answers within the next calendar year. So I don't know, maybe this time next year we revisit and see how awful some of our takes were. That actually might be fun. Until that time, though.
Folks in the future, tell me. I was about to say, folks, tell me in the future how bad my Nintendogs prediction was.
Yeah, take it easy on us, would you? If you're in the future there, when there's no Metroid games released in 2026, the Switch 2 is completely something different. It's like the Wii U. I don't know. We'll see. All right, everybody. We are going to get out of here. Of course, thank you so much for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Go like and subscribe and recommend and rate and review. All that kind of good stuff. Check out OmegaMetroid.com. We got guides. We got maps. We got news. We got thought pieces. We got more stuff than you could shake a stick at there if you are a Metroid fan, so go and check that out. We also have a Patreon if you are interested in taking your Metroid love to the next level. We got the Great Metroid Area ranking that is rolling along, so come and check that out. And make sure that you are subscribing to us over on YouTube, where you can see these episodes every single week. You can see our lovely faces. And hint, hint, there's going to be some cool stuff coming on our YouTube channel in the not too distant future. So definitely make sure that you are subscribed over there. And give us a follow wherever you are over on social. We are at Omega Metroid, at Spiteri316, at Doominal Crossing. That, my friends, is going to do it for us. So everybody have a great week. Hopefully we get some Switch 2 news soon. And you know that we'll be all over it when we do. Everybody, take care, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday. Ciao.